main topic of this conference is risks and how you can operate as industry in this more volatile and more challenging environment. So we'll talk a little bit about risks and challenges of digital transformation. And then we're also going to talk what you can, as business and IT leaders, do to actually accelerate digital transformation in your company, for instance. All right. So when you're looking at the top 10 priorities of CIOs in the insurance industry, you can see that actually digital transformation and digital is the #1 priority for these executives. You can also see, and I want to highlight that besides looking at revenue growth and better customer experience, that a huge number of organizations is considering the change of existing business models to be a priority for their organizations. And I mentioned in the beginning, it's exciting to be in the insurance industry at the moment, and this is a clear indicator for this excitement. Changing business models is becoming a priority, and many of you, I do know that, are thinking about that. You have established digital transformation labs or digital factories. How can we as an organization serve better our clients via mobile devices, via portals, via microservices that allow us to integrate into our partner websites. So there's a huge focus, as you can see here, on customer service and improving also time to market from a product development point of view. You can see on the other hand at the bottom that there's less focus from an investment point of view on topics like operations, data centers, back office systems. So we can clearly see a shift in the priorities from a spending point of view of our customers. Now, we are tracking digital transformation for many, many years. And I did a little bit of an exercise. I looked at all our surveys of the last 3 years, and I looked a little bit at development. And when we talk about digital transformation, we are basically breaking that down in different stages. So you can see here from left to right, you can obviously see organizations that are having an ambition to transform digitally. They may be in a design phase. They may then later already deliver capabilities for digital transformation, scale it, and maybe get some feedback and refine their capabilities. So many of you are in these different stages, and we usually measure the maturity of organizations from left to right. Left is less mature. On the right, you are more mature, unless you obviously have no digital transformation activity at all. So when we look at the development of the last 3 years, it actually looks pretty promising. If you look at the numbers, most organizations are actually in the scaling phase. More than 40% are now increasingly scaling their digital activities. More than 200% are actually refining their activities. You can see that less organizations on the left are in early stages. So this looks all very, very promising. Okay? This looks like everybody is in a good shape, everybody is on their way. But again, if you drill down a little bit in more details of the survey, the reality looks different. And the reality looks different because we're asking 2 questions to the participants of these surveys. The first one is, to which degree are they able to build digital capabilities in their strategy planning? So make it an integral part of their strategy. And then the second question obviously is, how do you reap the benefits of that digital transformation? So if your CEO, if your CFO, if your COO asks you, okay, show me the money, What kind of progress did we make in a commercial sense? You need to have an answer. And if you look a little bit at the results of that survey, then you begin to wonder whether the industry is really making so much progress. Because as you can see here, the percentage of organizations that feel they are very effective is actually going down. And you also can see that the percentage of organizations that is very ineffective or very inefficient is actually going up, right? For instance, here, organizations that are able to harvest results and they believe are very efficient, that percentage did almost half in 3 years. So something is going on which is going to change a little bit the positive impression that you get at first hand when you look at the results from these surveys. Now, you obviously wonder, why is this the case? Why are organizations struggling, and especially when it comes to harvesting results? Now, one explanation is, if I'm asking you what digital transformation means for you or for your organization, I'm probably going to get between 5 and 10 different definitions what digital actually means. And we have broken down digital transformation in 2 categories within Gartner. The first category is really about what we call digital optimization. So you invest in new capabilities to optimize, for instance, your claims processing. Let's assume you do a mobile application for a first notice of loss so that your clients can submit, in case of a car accident, a first notice of loss via your mobile device. Now, you will not fundamentally change the way how you process claims. Worst case, and this is a true story, I know organizations that are going to print out that first notice of loss, re-enter it in their claim system in the backend, and then continue to process the claims, right? So this is digital optimization. So you're going to invest in capabilities, but you do not fundamentally change the way you do business. The second category of digital change is actually what we call digital business. So you are embracing new capabilities like artificial intelligence, like blockchain, like microservices, like open APIs. And you embrace these capabilities in your strategy to come up with something that is fundamentally new. So let's keep the example of claims processing. Allstate in the US, for instance, is working on touchless claims. So they have entities, you have a damaged car, you basically drive in a device which looks like a garage, and this device is going to scan your car, and it's going to automatically recognize, what kind of damage exists, and with the help of artificial intelligence, we're going to do a preliminary loss assessment, we're going to create a claim, and we're going to immediately initiate a payment. So ideally, no claims adjuster involved, no paper involved, and dramatic improvement from a processing time, and also, of course, from a customer service. Totally different perception and totally different approach to digital. And if you look a little bit in our data, you can see that the bulk of insurance companies is focusing on optimizing their capabilities. So they are not really dramatically changing their value proposition. Capabilities, how much resources do you actually have at hand to finance all these new capabilities and that change? And what I'm hearing a lot, also yesterday, from a lot of clients, cost optimization, reducing costs in IT is increasingly a priority. I think many of you are operating in a more to exhibit that high degree of digital dexterity. So this is one of the huge inhibitors for driving change. Now the other one, we talked a little bit about resources being the third reason for being slow in digital transformation. When you look at the amount of technical debt, so basically the amount of gap that you created or that the industry created over the last couple of years because they did not invest enough in their IT capabilities, we are seeing that this technical debt amounts to a staggering number globally, right, of more than 130 billion US dollars. So to repeat that, the industry, the insurance industry, has accumulated technical debt of more than 130 billion US dollars over the last 10 years. And the reason for that is slowing down new investments, slowing down replacement of legacy systems, investing in mergers and acquisitions that are just creating more complexity in the IT landscape. This is one of the primary reasons as well for the industry for being that slow with their digital transformation. And as a consequence, and a lot of you are investing in innovation and in digital factories, and you are collaborating with startups. Mexico is actually the fintech or startup hub now in Latin America, even ahead of Brazil and other markets. But what we can find is that the degree of innovation maturity in the industry is still relatively low. So this is these are the results of a survey that we did a couple of years ago. And what we try to do is come up with a framework for innovation maturity. And again, you can see from bottom, lowest level of maturity, more a reactive approach to innovation, to the top, which is a pervasive approach to innovation. You can see that the industry as a whole is more conservative, is challenged to actually accelerate the degree of innovation in their organization. So you can see the bulk of organizations is actually on level 2 or level 3, more than 50%, which is a mediocre degree of innovation maturity in their organizations. And I'm talking to many, many organizations in the insurance industry, and one of the primary challenges is they may have great use cases for blockchain, for AI, and for other capabilities, but they are not able to turn these use cases, these minimum viable products, into tangible results and accelerate that beyond their innovation lab. And something, I think this is an experience that many of you will share probably if you talk to your heads of innovation. Another one is obviously that IT as an organization has an execution problem. So we do have a digital maturity assessment, and we can clearly see that the maturity of the IT department is significantly lower than the maturity of the business and the aspirations of the business department. So if your business colleagues are articulating their desire to transform digitally, in many, many cases, the IT department is not able to execute on these requests. This is something that we're seeing in many, many organizations as well. So, many challenges regarding maturity of innovation capabilities, regarding digital dexterity in organizations, and obviously in availability of financial and human resources to drive change in your organization. So what can you do? what would be some of the steps and some of the activities that can actually help you to accelerate digital transformation in your organization. I want to give you a couple of ideas. One of the questions we often get at Gartner is, what are true game-changing technologies? What are the technologies? I mean, there's a myriad of things that I could do, but what are the 2 or 3 technologies that I should focus on to drive change and reap the benefits of digital transformation? And probably no surprise for many of you, artificial intelligence, machine learning, investment in chatbots, and other capabilities is, together with data and analytics, these are the 2 primary game-changing technologies in the industry. And again, one of the primary reasons for that is that many organizations, many insurance organizations are data-rich. They have a lot of data at hand, but they are still information poor. Google probably knows much, much more about me, or Apple knows much more about me than my insurance broker or my insurance company, right? And this is one of the primary focus areas. This should be one of the primary focus areas for you if you want to drive and accelerate change in your organization. The other problem that we see in a lot of organizations is they initiate a digital transformation journey, but they fail to measure the progress and the success of their initiatives. So what we're asking you to do is to develop a set of digital KPIs that do not allow you to measure the progress, but to also assess where are you today, what you want to accomplish, what's the desired outcome of these investments, when do you need to stop, right? If you invest only in chatbots, for instance, and you're not going to focus on customer service and customer experience, you may actually achieve the opposite result with your investments than what you initially invested in or targeted at, right? So think about digital KPIs, think about a framework, how to establish a better progress tracking of your investments. The second or the third thing that I recommend you to do is to look into business ecosystems. Now, historically, for many, many centuries, all of us had a pretty linear value chain. So we had marketing and sales, product development, actuarial calculations. We basically did claims processing, asset management, etc. But it was a very, very linear and pipe-based value chain. This is not the only way that you should think at digital transformation and at business ecosystems today. There are more opportunities today. So for instance, many insurance companies are trying to build an insurance platform to dominate the client experience. So they are trying to become a little bit the Amazon, right, of their ecosystem and their value chain. You also have new investments and new capabilities that are driving a more decentralized approach. So I was recently talking to a large French insurance company, who's also, by the way, present here in Mexico, and they have developed a completely new microservices-based platform to actually collaborate with travel agencies, with car rental companies, with car sharing companies, etc., to come up with a completely new holistic value proposition. So thinking about ecosystems beyond your traditional pipe-based value chain is going to be one of the secret sources for success for digital transformation in the insurance industry. Now, you obviously cannot buy this platform off the shelf, but when you think about the components and the ingredients of such a platform for digital business, a couple of things come to mind. Obviously, digital or analytical capabilities, we already talked about that. You obviously need to think about the Internet of Things. How can you, for instance, integrate smart home, telematics, health living, trackers for how many steps you do, etc. How can you integrate that in your value proposition? You also need to think about the customer experience. So how can you basically drive better customer experience via mobile apps, via portals, etc. You also need to think about how you can integrate these partners in your ecosystem. So think about APIs, think about microservices, think about open integration capabilities in your existing application environment. And then obviously you also have still your core insurance applications, policy administration, claims management, commissions and disbursements, collections and disbursements, commissions management. So you need to have these capabilities also to integrate these new capabilities, for instance, in your product design capabilities. And if you do that, if you have such a platform, you can actually accomplish both. You can, drive digital optimization if you are a more conservative insurance company. So you can, for instance, change and improve the customer experience. So it's more like an iterative value change. But obviously you can also come up with a completely different value proposition. You can, for instance, integrate your environment to third-party marketplaces. You can invest in API management to expose APIs to the outside world. Again, give you one example. A large insurance company in the US recently integrated Uber into their back office environment, and they accomplished a new commercial insurance volume of several $100 million of US dollars. So additional premium income in the commercial insurance space by building an open API to Uber and of course to Lyft and other car sharing providers. And obviously you can integrate new startups in your value proposition. And a lot of you, I think, are already experimenting with startups. There are a lot of interesting cases in the insurance industry. This is another, approach how you can, change, from a pipe-based value chain to a business ecosystem environment. Think about new capabilities like, road assistance, loyalty management, and other capabilities that you would like to bring to the table. So business ecosystems and digital platforms are going to be one of the driving forces for digital transformation in the insurance industry over the next couple of years. And if you invest in these technology platforms, you will actually achieve two things. Number one, you will move from an environment where you have no platform or you have a legacy environment to hopefully a much, much more open, a much, much more agile environment, which allows you to experiment with new capabilities, to integrate ecosystems, to integrate marketplaces. And it will also allow you to experiment with new value propositions. And there are many, many different ways how you can, operate in these business ecosystem environments. You can be the orchestrator of these services, so you play a more dominant role. You can try to bring buyers and sellers together. So those of you that are looking into the microinsurance domain or they are looking into peer-to-peer insurance, you may find a role here. You can come up with completely new products and services, so move away from a product-centric to a service-centric value proposition. Or you can simply integrate third parties in your value chain to provide a more holistic customer experience. So instead of just offering household insurance, you're actually going to integrate real estate agents, you're going to integrate third parties that are taking care of the house while you are on vacation. You integrate smoke detectors to prevent fires from happening. You integrate additional services into your value chain, and you're able to not only sell a household insurance, but a lifelong service which is going to provide a worry-free life for your clients. That's a little bit the vision that I wanted to share with you. And obviously there is, lots of Gartner research available. And many of you, I think, do have access to Gartner research. So if you want to read a little bit more about that. And then one last word. We are doing every year at our symposium, we are doing a large innovation awards. Many of you have great ideas, great innovations. We have received many submissions from Mexico over the last couple of years. So if you have something that you would like to share, that you would like to present to an audience at a symposium event, we would be delighted to get your submissions. So don't be shy. Many of you are doing interesting things. Feel free to submit that. With that, I know I'm a little bit over time, but thanks a lot for all your interest. I think we're going to have a quick question and answer round. Thanks a lot for all your interest. Thank you.
Agradecemos al señor Jürgen Weiss y estamos poniendo un par de sillones porque viene la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Les recordamos que se han planteado ya algunas y pueden seguirlas planteando a través de la aplicación. Y para hacerse cargo de esta parte queda con ustedes el vicepresidente de AMIS, Juan Patricio Riverol.
Jürgen, thank you very much for your very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
And we have some questions. One of them would be, what would be the main hurdles that the insurance industry has, and in Mexico in particular, a market that I presume you have some knowledge of? The hurdles to apply digitalization between the insurance companies and their main distribution channel, which are agents.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned already one of the big challenges in your last comment, and that is channel cannibalization, right? Whenever we talk about digital and new capabilities, obviously one question comes always up: how do I integrate existing channels in my value proposition? Especially when I'm selling via agents, you need to figure out a way how your agents, that you're not treating your agents as, legacy and as a competitor, but how can you actually invest in their capabilities to help you to become more successful? So for instance, one of the big themes in the industry is the digital insurance agent, right? How can you invest in mobile sales and service capabilities to provide, for instance, point of sale underwriting? How can you provide better financial advice applications in the case of life or health insurance? So this is going to be one of the problems. The second problem that you have in Mexico, together with many other markets that are more emerging, right? You have a very, very diverse set of clients, right? You have very well educated and very solvent clients, but on the other hand, you have a large portion of your client base which is financially underserved by financial services institutions, banks and insurance companies. So I think one of the challenges in digital transformation is how can you develop a customer journey which fits to these different segments in your industry. So it's not a one size fits all. It's actually a different customer journey and a different customer experience for different segments of your client base. I think these are the two, besides what I already mentioned, these are the two hurdles that I'm seeing.
Okay, thank you. Another would be, what's your estimate about the gap that exists between the clients, insureds, the customer expectations?
Yeah, that's
against what the industry is providing or offering?
Yeah, that's a great question. And last year, we have done a major consumer survey, and we asked clients about their digital expectations and their digital experience and the value that insurance companies are actually providing to them. And you know, when you look at the results of that survey, only about, you know, roughly 20% of the clients, I think if I remember it correctly, about 20% of the clients say that the experience, the digital experience that they currently have with insurance providers is an enjoyable one. So about 80% are saying sort of okay, or they say, well, it's actually a bad experience, right? So the potential from a client perspective is huge to improve that perception.
Thank you. Another would be artificial intelligence. How can that accelerate the process of digitalization within the industry?
Right. I think, you know, I mean, artificial intelligence is going to have impacts on the insurance value chain in many aspects. And we can differentiate that a little bit between front office and back office, right, to just simplify things. So on the back office side, if you think about, for instance, product development, claims management, if you think about policy administration, needs analysis, etc., one of the benefits of artificial intelligence is it's going to augment your data analysis and data analytics capabilities that you currently have in your organization. So to give you one simple example, if you are operating in the motor insurance domain, right, artificial intelligence is going to provide you an answer to the question, will my client actually renew the contract, or are there signs that my client is not going to renew the contract because, for instance, they have not contacted me for 6 months or whatsoever. So artificial intelligence on the back office is going to give you a much, much better capability to assess the needs and to assess the true value that you provide and provider to the clients. On the front office side, obviously one of the primary investment areas at the moment is customer service. So a lot of insurance companies are investing in chatbots, they're investing in avatars, intelligent applications that would allow you to you know, meet service requirements. Again, give you one example. Let's assume you have a catastrophic event, like, you know, big flooding or, you know, something like that. Many insurance companies today are already using chatbots to augment the capacity in their call center they have, right, to address incoming call volumes from clients. That's one example where artificial intelligence is going to drive operational efficiency and improve your sales and service or service capabilities as an organization.
Well, Jürgen, thank you very much for your interesting presentation talk, and it's a pleasure having you here with us.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Agradecemos a Jürgen Weiss y ahora Juan Patricio Riverol le entrega un reconocimiento por su participación.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Y a todos ustedes les pedimos despedirlo con un fuerte aplauso.
Thank you.
Vamos a tomar un primer breve receso de este segundo día de actividades y después reanudaremos con la conferencia de Nina Arquint. Así que les invitamos a estar atentos a los llamados y descargar la aplicación para plantear las preguntas.